Hello there, friends. How are you? Catherine Massell here, Master Intuitive Energy Healer. Hello, Spiritual Growth Catalyst and Mentor. How are you? Happy Friday for those of you here in the US. You are celebrating a holiday weekend, MLK weekend. I am celebrating my birthday tomorrow. Hi, Svetlana. I'm going to share this on my personal page. Excuse me while I do that. I got a juicy topic to share with you guys today. I'm going to try to make it a short talk. I always say that, and then it never ends up being short. But I'm going to try. Okay. Hi, Angela. Hi, Christine. Hello, ladies. Hello, hello, hello. My goodness, Angela, it's late for you. Oh, thank you, Svetlana. Thank you very much. I am very excited to celebrate my birthday because I have family coming to celebrate with me, which is really nice. That's a real treat. So I'm super excited about that. But on to the subject at hand. Why is it so difficult to make changes in your life and sustain that level of change? Well, it's because your body and your mind are in conflict with one another. It's really important to understand that we have a biological preconditioning to a way of being. So we have thoughts, and following right on the heels of those thoughts are chemical reactions that produce emotions. So we are in this constant feedback loop of having, let's just say, the same thoughts over and over again, day in, day out, for years on end. And we have, because of the chemical reaction that takes place in the body directly after we produce a thought, we have a feeling. And it is estimated that we have about 70,000 thoughts a day as human beings. It is also estimated that about 80% of those thoughts are negative. So if we are having a large chunk of the thoughts that largely are unconscious, because this takes place, we're talking about an unconscious level here. 80% of our thoughts a day, we're unconsciously checking into something negative. That means we're producing negative emotions right on the heels of that negative thought, because basically what the emotions produce a level in the body, thoughts produce a level in the mind, okay? But they have a sensory feedback loop with each other that are very intimately related. So if you're thinking those same thoughts, negative thoughts, all day long, every day long, and it's about 80% of what you're thinking about, and you're not conscious of it, meaning you're not checked into, you don't have awareness of this process, you've created a way of being. Let's just say this has been going on for decades. You're creating a way of being that eventually becomes your personality, because you develop attitudes, which an attitude is a cluster of different thoughts and emotions that create a bigger container, let's just say, to hold your thoughts and emotions, which creates a mood, which creates a personality. And your personality largely creates your whole personal reality, meaning you look at your whole outer environment, your way of being, based on your vantage point of your perception of your reality. Your perception of your reality is your personality. So if you have this personality that is basically etched into being by the neural pathways of thinking the same thoughts over and over again, the same chemical responses flooding the body, creating emotions that flood the body over and over and over again, you're creating an environment that you're basically addicted to in your inner reality, in your inner world. And if you want to create, let's just say you started off this year and you had resolved to change something. Maybe you were off to change something big in your life. Maybe you've had an emotion that you've been holding on to for a really long time. Let's just say it's lack or resentment or guilt or shame. Maybe it's grief. One of these emotions, maybe one or more of these emotions, are running your life. And you are wrapping your whole, or creating a whole version of your reality based on this emotion that's running the show. So let's just say you started off this year and you said, you know what, no more throwing a pity party for myself. I don't want to be grieving anymore for this, let's just say, event that happened maybe 5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. You have based a personality on a reaction to an event that happened maybe a long time ago, and because you've never been able to let that go, you've never been able to move beyond that, biologically speaking, you are addicted to that emotion. And so when we are off to, let's just say, change something, maybe you have wanted to deal with the loss of a relationship, and you want to feel more empowered, you want to feel more confident, courageous, you want to get yourself out there, you want to start dating again, you want to start having a love life again, you want to connect with someone on a very deep romantic level again. But if you're still holding on to the trauma of unworthiness because of the rejection you experienced from this event, this romantic partner that rejected you, how do you expect then, if you don't move beyond that emotion, to create this level of courageousness, this level of confidence to be able to go out in the dating world and not think it's just going to happen to you again? Because on a biological level, you're holding on to that feeling if you've never had the awareness of it enough to be able to create an environment that is greater than that, meaning you haven't created a more ideal version of yourself that is beyond or greater than this tether, this emotion that keeps you rooted into this old way of being. If you haven't created something beyond that, you're going to go out in that dating world, and the same thing is going to happen to you again, because basically your perception of your reality has not changed. You're still this same person who's unworthy of a partner. You're still the same person who isn't good enough to be loved. If you haven't moved beyond this old way of thinking and feeling and behaving in your world, maybe you're taking a different action that allows you to behave otherwise, meaning maybe you got out and you did a blind date. Maybe your friends set you up or something like that. But if you're still holding on to this feeling of unworthiness, of waiting for the other shoe to fall, like when am I going to get rejected by this guy or this girl or whatever, you're not moving beyond your familiar past. You're not creating a new way of being, thinking, or feeling. And so what you will look for then in your external reality is the same set of experiences that allows you to validate who you are in your inner world. Now, if you don't understand this biological connection, it can be really hard to just say, well, mentally, I want a different experience. Maybe you make a declaration. You resolve to get out there and be part of the dating world again and get a new partner for yourself, a very loving partnership that you can enjoy and will give you benefits of this loving relationship for years to come. Okay? Let's just say you want that. Let's just say you get out there and you do that. But if you haven't resolved these old emotions, this addiction to this old way of being, this addiction that you have because you've been firing the same chemical responses of unworthiness and all the feelings that are attached to that, associated with that, if you've been living out this inner reality over and over and over again for maybe months, even years, you are going to look for something in your environment that validates that. Maybe you'll reject that other person before he rejects you or she rejects you, so that you can go back into that predictable reality of feeling diminished, of feeling discounted, of feeling lesser than. Because the body wants to pull, it's like a bungee cord. If you're addicted to a way of being, meaning having an emotional response that is perpetual in your life, consistent in your life, your body is wired for that. Your body is wired to experience that emotion. That is its normal. That's a familiar state. So even when you go out and try to do something different, and you mentally say to yourself, it's going to be different this time. I'm going to have this different experience. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. Whatever. Mentally, you're saying one thing, but their body, because it's emotional addiction to your familiar past, is just looking for that same emotion of unworthiness, that emotion of futility, that emotion of hopelessness, that emotion of lack. So the body's doing one thing, but your mind is saying something different. And they are in conflict with one another. And your mind and body are not built to be in conflict with one another. They are meant to be on this very intimate sensory feedback level with each other. So here you are living in conflict, okay? But let's just say you want this new relationship so bad, and you've gotten really good at visualizing who your partner looks like, your ideal person, in your life, partner, soulmate, what he or she looks like, what they read, what they do, where they hang out, what their hobbies are, what they like to talk about, what they like to watch on TV. Let's just say in your mind you've gotten really, really crystal clear about who your ideal partner looks like, and you've fantasized, you've mentally rehearsed being with this person, the kind of experiences that you would have, let's just say a perfect day that you might have with each other, the kind of conversations you have with each other. Maybe you've imagined intimate scenarios, okay? But you've gotten very clear about what this feels like, okay? What you're doing when you do that is you are setting a different energetic template in motion within the body. You are redirecting your emotional state to say, this is what I want. This is what it feels like. And let's just say you're going into this level of mental rehearsal or creative visualization, let's just say 3 or 4 times a day. And you're spending time being in this feeling state of this elevated level that you are not maybe currently at or currently experiencing in your outer reality. But if you do this enough and you rehearse this emotional state, the body then doesn't know any difference between this is happening in the outer reality or this is happening here in real time in the present, or we're imagining it. The body doesn't differentiate. All it knows is that you're thinking these romantic thoughts around these romantic notions about how this relationship could be, which is setting off a cascade of chemical responses in the body that validate that. And you are creating a whole new internal state. So what do you think would happen if you did this continuously for, let's just say, 6 weeks? Every day. Every day, at the same day, or at the same time of day, you made this a ritual for yourself where you are feeling a certain way that eventually is greater than what you are seeing, experiencing, getting a sensory feedback loop of in your external environment. Because if you look at your external environment and you say, well, he's not there yet. This ideal person, this ideal soulmate, they're not there yet. If you're focusing on that, you're just going to get more of that. But if you become really, really adept at focusing on this inner state of being and mentally rehearsing this way of being that you desire, so much so that the feeling state, the emotional response that you have in the body, in your inner world, becomes greater than what you are experiencing in your outer world, you create a whole new personal reality for yourself. You have broken down neural pathways in the brain that were trained to think certain thoughts and to go back to those thoughts over and over again. Remember those 80% of your thoughts a day being negative? Now you're not doing that anymore. And remember how your chemical reactions get set off in the body the second you think a thought. There's a chemical response that follows right on the heels of that. So then you're thinking different thoughts. That means you are feeling different emotions. You are wiring different thoughts and you're firing different emotional responses. So now you're rewiring and refiring your whole internal programming. Everything inside of you is different. Now, here's the thing about universal law. Universal law dictates that if you have a frequency, a vibration that is resonating with, let's just say, this emotional state you've created inside with imagining your perfect partner is joy, elation, feeling supported, feeling understood, all of those associated emotions that go along with you feeling joy in your perfect partnership, universal law dictates that that must show up in your external reality. Because we match vibrations. That's what we do all day long. We match frequencies, we match vibrations. That's what we do. We are energetic beings. We are constantly giving out an electromagnetic signature. The electro being our thoughts, the magnetic being our feelings. Our thoughts electrically transmit something out into the universe that translates as a vibration. Magnetically, we are drawing it back to us, this vibration which ends up being a feeling that comes back to you. So that feeling ends up, if you do it often enough in your inner world, that feeling ends up as something physical and tangible in your outer reality because universal law dictates that that is so. So people who say that they want to change, they started off this year, let's just say, I'm going to find my perfect partner, my soulmate, I'm going to find that perfect partner this year. I'm going to lose that weight. I'm going to kick this habit. I'm going to lose this addiction. And you say it, but you're not doing anything internally with your emotional state to change it. It's no wonder why so many people's New Year's resolutions fail, and they fail really, really quickly. Sometimes within 3 or 4 weeks. That gym membership that you bought on January 2nd, you might as well throw that away. Because if you're not changing anything in the internal state to match the vibration that you want to be at, to match the desire that you have in your life for creating this new reality, good luck. And a lot of people don't realize this. And we are so addicted to this way of being that when we think a thought, let's just say, that is negative and it follows with an emotional response, we have a feeling, that feeling becomes this place where we teach our body to be in this place. We teach our body to be in this state, let's just say, of limitation or lack. And many of us find ourselves in a state of limitation or lack of support, lack of love, lack of money, whatever that is. That's being in this survival state of consciousness. And we find ourselves in this place so often. And what happens in this survival state of consciousness is this very limited state of being. It's this limited mind state and this limited body state. We are living at the mercy of our feelings. So if your feeling every day is unworthiness, if your feeling every day is lack, if your feeling every day is limitation, and you try to make a change from that level of mind, that level of being, that feeling state in the body, also good luck. Because you're trying to make a change that says, well, I'm being creative here. I'm creating a whole new way of being, but you're doing it from a survival state. You can't be in the energy of lack or limitation and try to create a different energy from that. It never works. You can't ever create a new state of being, with the same energy that created the survival state. So if you are feeling emotions of lack, limitation all the time, which puts you in a place of urgency and desperation, and you say to yourself, I have to change because I can't take this anymore. I have to change. I have to. That's urgency. That's desperation. That is lack mentality. That is scarcity mode. That is survival consciousness. You can't change your emotional state for the long term from this level of consciousness. It just doesn't work. And that's why we think that, okay, well, I'm just going to sit myself down and I'm going to make this change and I'm going to write out all of my affirmations of what I want in my life. I'm just going to allow myself to feel into it, and then I'm just going to do this. But that's your plan. That's your plan. So you sit down and you look at all these things that you want, and you write down your plan of, I'm going to do this, I affirm that I'm going to do this, I'm going to have this in my life. But you're looking at it from a state of mind which is resonating with lack, limitation. So all you see when you wrote those things down on your pages is how you don't have this in your life yet. That's lack. You can't make a change for the better, and certainly a long-term change for the better from that place. It's just not going to happen. And so then we get into 3 or 4 months into the new year after we've made our resolution, and then we find ourselves just throwing in the towel. We're done. This is never going to work. I'm never going to change. But what you don't realize is going on is that the body, because it's so conditioned, it's so addicted to this way of being that may be, let's just say, worthiness, lack, or limitation. What it does is it triggers the body to basically be the mind. So you're in this emotional state of lack, and what it's doing is telling the mind to tell you, you're just like your mother, you're never going to change. Remember this time last year you tried to change, you couldn't do it then either. Because the emotional body is so addicted to that way of being, it wants to stay that way. It likes familiarity. Hi, Patrice. It's tomorrow. My birthday's tomorrow. It becomes very, very difficult for us to change unless we understand biologically how we are hardwired to an internal programming that does not like change and actively resists it. So how do you overcome it? Well, first of all, you have to have awareness of this process. That you are wiring and firing a predictable way of being every single day, day in and day out, based on a way of being that has been etched into your neural pathways And it has been an addiction that you've created through memorized emotions from feeling the same things day in and day out over the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, however long. You are fighting against a whole personality and subsequently a whole personal reality that is hardwired to your way of being. You must create a way to rise above this programming, meaning you have to unlearn the old you. And the only way to do that is to actively install new programming, install a new programming. You have to think different thoughts. You have to feel different feelings. This doesn't happen unless you're very, very clear on who it is that you want to be. What do you most desire? And don't think of in terms of superficial, like, I want this new car, or I want this new life mate, I want this new husband, I want this new house. What is the feeling you're searching for? Because if you don't have a good firm grasp on the feeling that you're searching for, you are not clear on what it is that you want to create. You may think that you want a new car and that's the end all be all, but what that car is going to bring you is a feeling state. It produces a feeling within you. So what is the feeling? I feel accomplished, successful, free, open. Hi, Saphira. What is that? That new house, what is that going to bring you? Safety, security, room to spread out. I can have my home office in this house. My kids have a playroom. What is that? What is that feeling that creates in you? Because that's what you're searching for. Every single desire you have, the end all be all of it is not how it manifests in the physical. It's the feeling that that physical creation, creates within you. So what is the feeling you're searching for? Get clear on that first before you do anything. You can scrap all the rest. If you don't know what feeling you're searching for, you are not clear on what you desire. You are not clear on what you want. Find that. Get to the heart of that. And then look at what emotions you are holding on to right now that are running interference on that. If you want, let's just say, freedom in your life, where do you feel bound and tethered to so many different things in your life? Where do you feel like maybe if freedom is what you're after, what is that freedom even giving you? Go as deep as you possibly can with that. What is freedom? What does that mean for you? For you, not for anyone else. What does that mean for you? What does that feel like? Being able to have an open schedule. Being able to take your kids on vacation whenever you want. Being able to go on a girls' retreat with 2 or 3 of your best friends and taking off and going to somewhere fabulous in Bali because you just want to. What does freedom look like and feel like for you? And then look for the emotion in your everyday life that is running interference on it. Where do you feel bound to a way of being? Where do you feel tethered? Where do you feel stuck? Where do you feel like your time is not your own? Where do you feel like your voice is not your own? For some of us, freedom is being able to express ourselves as the highest ideal of who we are. Many of us feel like we don't have that leisure or that level of openness and freedom to be as candid and as open as we want. What is that for you? And once you figure out that feeling, that emotion that you have, how often are you in that space where you're feeling that? Let's just say the feeling you're after is freedom. Where do you feel stuck? Where do you feel like you are in a hole that you can't get yourself out? What situations come up around that? What behaviors do you have that keep you in that spot? What thoughts are you having every single day that keep you thinking, I'm stuck? When do those situations arise? Is it a certain time of day? Are you with a certain person? Are you at work? Are you with your kids? Are you with your husband? Where is that? Where is that happening? Become aware of the thoughts that you're thinking. Move out of this unconscious state where we are addicted to our old way of being and become super conscious and aware, metacognitive of your thoughts, your feelings, meaning you are knowing and tapped into and have full awareness of the thoughts that you're thinking throughout your day and the feelings that come right on the heels of that. Having this level of being checked into your life on a daily basis will change so much for you. So much. But if you want to override the programming that you have that is keeping you in a predictable way of being, meaning every day you wake up with this fresh template of energy, you wake up anew, you have these ideas about what your day is going to be like, but you engage in the same predictable thought patterns, the same feelings, and the same actions that you did the day before, if you're doing that, you are bringing your past into your present over and over and over again, because it is a pattern. And we are wired to be this way. But we don't have to fight against this programming. We can work with this programming. But you can only do this when you are consciously redirecting it. So being more metacognitive, checked into with full awareness of your thoughts and feelings throughout the day, that's the first step. Actually, let's draw it back. The first step is having clarity. Clarity on what you do want to become. Who do you want to be? What do you want to feel like when you wake up every day? Because when we really think about it, and I'm going to give you a real big truth bomb here. When we really think about it, when you wake up every morning, you wake up with a completely fresh template of energy. Before you look at your emails, before you look at your texts, before you look at your phone, before you look over at your partner sleeping next to you or your dog sleeping at the end of the bed, you are not reminded of who you are. First thing when you wake up in the morning, you are not reminded yet of who you are. You have, the second you check into your external environment, you open your eyes, you have any kind of sensory input about your environment, something you're hearing. Maybe you hear your husband starting the coffee. Maybe you smell the coffee. Maybe you wake up, you look at the pile of bills on your dresser, or the pile of books, or things that you've been reading, or things that you have to attend to. The second we start to get that sensory feedback loop of who we believe we are, the perception of who we are, you have completely fresh energy. It is pure. It is untainted. It is beautiful. That is the place of pure creation. Do you know why? Because you're completely present. You're completely present in the now. I don't care if you're groggy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you are unfettered, untainted by anything in your external environment that allows you to believe or buy into the perception of who you think you are. If you go into a creative state, meaning a meditative state where you're actively reconstructing, redefining, rewiring a new reality for yourself before you look at any of that sensory input or have any of that sensory input, and you do this every day for 6 to 8 weeks, your entire personal reality changes. Now, some people have done this where they, just find that sweet spot in their day. The women I've worked with doing this, they have their own special times of the day where they like to do this. But the women who have the most success are the ones that start in the very pristine, early moments of their day before they look at anything, before they even talk to their husband, before they even pet the dog. They grab their meditation track, their earbuds, they go to a place where they're not disturbed, and they go into this meditative creative state, and they create their day. But you're not just creating your day, you're creating a whole new way of being that goes beyond that 24-hour stretch, that goes beyond that week stretch, that goes beyond that month stretch. You are creating a whole new personal reality from within. That, remember what I said before, universal law dictates when this becomes greater, your internal reality, then what you are seeing, feeling, experiencing, knowing, tasting, touching in your outer reality, you create a whole new personal reality and personality for yourself. Everything changes. And it doesn't matter what you want to shift. A bad habit, overeating, smoking. You're addicted to overspending. Maybe you are trying to create that perfect life partner, bring that person into your life. Maybe you want more money. I've worked with a lot of women on their wealth mindset with this, and it changes everything. It doesn't matter what you want to create, though. It's about how clear you are who you want to be and that feeling that you're searching for. You know that you're the creator of your personal reality. You know that you are the creator, the master builder of your reality. That is also key. Because if you believe anything other than that, this won't work for you. And if you are able to create an internal environment, and this is through sheer force of will, this is being able to sit yourself down through all the procrastination, all the excuses that you say, I don't have time for this, that is the old way of being, fighting for survival. Understand that. And it will fight and kick and scream and throw tantrums. The ego doesn't like change. Your internal environment doesn't want change. It likes familiar. It likes comfortable. Even if it's been a self-negating way of being. That's the way you've been for 2 decades. So it knows how to be that. It doesn't want to change. It doesn't want to shift. So be prepared to be uncomfortable. But once you get over that hump, the fighting, the kicking and screaming and the tantrum throwing of your inner environment and your ego, once you get past that, everything shifts. Everything changes. And you get to create your reality at will. You become the creatrix. Everything in your life shifts because you are actively navigating. You are in the driver's seat of your own life. You're no longer a passenger. You're no longer a tourist. You are running the show. You are so in control of your inner reality that it is greater than anything that you see in your outer reality that you do not like or do not want. And when you become this master builder of your reality, by being the master of your inner world, because this is how this takes place, you become the master of your inner world, that anything that you don't like in your outer reality, you get to change it at will and quickly. Once you get this method down, it is something you will never want to get rid of, because it's just like things start manifesting really quickly, sometimes a little too quickly. I had to slow down my manifesting process a little bit because it was getting a little out of hand for me. Like, I would put something out to the universe and I would go into my creative state and actively create this, and then it would just show up, sometimes hours later, and it was blowing my mind. And sometimes that's a little bit much for us because we're not used to instantaneous manifestation, but it can happen. And if you are one of those people that's saying, well, I'm manifesting this, I'm manifesting that, be aware of your wording here. When you say, I'm manifesting this, okay? Because that says to your inner reality, and it says to the universe, I'm in the process of creating something. In the process of. Rather, swap out I'm manifesting with I am receiving. I have. I created. If you are saying I am creating or I am manifesting, it's the same as being in this place of want. It's the same as, energetically, it's the same as saying I want this. Well, then you're consistently and ever, always wanting it. Because the universe says, oh, you're in want. Okay, let's leave you there because that's what you're asking for. But if you say, I created, I have, I am receiving, that's a completely different energetic vibration, okay? So when you're in this creative state that I'm talking about, you're moving out beyond manifesting. You are receiving, and sometimes very quickly. I can't stress enough how powerful this is, to be able to create at will the reality that you desire. But there are steps. It is a plan. It is a method. And a lot of people who don't understand how to do this and are working at this level of manifesting with an untrained mind are doomed to be at this level of frustration and anger, and they throw in the towel. It doesn't matter how excited you are and how many times you proclaim, I want this, I'm doing this, this is going to happen. If you don't understand what's going on a biological level inside of you that is resisting that, good luck. That is why so many people fail in their New Year's resolutions and they give up and they think they can never create a new way of being. I'm here to tell you that you're wrong, number one. There is a plan, there are steps, and if you want the steps, the 1 by 2, by 3, by 4, this is what you do this week, this is what you do this week, this is what you do this week, and then change, boom. There is a method, there is a way that I share, and I've had incredibly powerful things happen. Saphira says powerful, Tammy says word, absolutely. And I feel like I've been talking to no one putting out these lives because I don't think people get really what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about living in ascended consciousness now in the sense that ascended consciousness, if we're able to live at a human level where we're matching everything that we're trying to do with our energy activations, energy alignments, we're trying to become more spiritual, that's all wonderful, but you're already a fully awake spiritual being. The next step in our process of ascension is our human awakening process. That means that we must access a level of mind, attain a level of mind that is consistent with matching ascended consciousness. That means we have to evolve the brain. We have to elevate the brain to where the rest of our body is at. Our bodies are on a cellular level. We are moving into crystalline structure. But the mind is still like way far behind, and we are living in egoic consciousness. We are living in survival mode states. This is not a creative state. The creative state, which is what I'm talking about, being able to create at will the life that you desire, that creative state is completely opposite than the state that most of us find ourselves living in most of our day. Okay? We don't realize that we are limiting ourselves by staying in this same state of mind that we've had for, let's just face it, thousands of years. We think we've evolved the brain, and in certain ways that we have, but we have billions of connections that we make in the mind on a daily basis, billions of connections that we make in the mind. We are only ever accessing a small fraction of that, which is about, I think, 20,000 different connections that we make. And all of those connections that we make on a daily basis, which is just a fraction of our potential in terms of what we can access in the mind, what I call the quantum field of mind, all we're concerned about with those like 20,000 some reactions that we're having each day is our mind, meaning our thoughts, the body, our emotions, and time. Accessing ascended consciousness means being able to move beyond these things, meaning moving beyond the thoughts that we think every day in the mind, moving beyond the emotions that we feel, that we are wired to feel, that we have memorized in the body, that we are addicted to every single day, and moving beyond our sense of time, which for us means moving beyond our familiar past. Because many of us, at the level we are living at, we are living in a place where we are bringing our familiar past into our present every single day and living it out. Remember that sweet spot that I talked about, that if you wake up in the morning, before you look at anything that reminds you of who you are, you're in this fresh, pristine state of creation? That's when you can be making those billions and billions of connections that are available to you in the quantum field, where you can be accessing limitless potentials for ways of being. Instead, we pick up this pen, we pick up this journal with the words that we wrote the night before, we pet our dog, we go and drink our coffee, we move into the same predictable patterns of behavior that we did the day before and the day before that. So we remind ourselves through our highly intrinsic level of perception of who we think we are, through these predictable behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. We go and drink that coffee, then we start feeling that feeling or thinking that thing that we thought yesterday or the day before. We create a level of mind over and over again every day out until we learn how to interrupt this pattern. And in order for us to really access ascended consciousness now, we need to be the interrupters of these old patterns, this old way of being. Otherwise, it doesn't matter how many spiritual awakenings, how many Kundalini openings, how many energetic alignments or activations you get, you are still not evolving your level of mind to reach ascended consciousness. This is how you do it. It is not passive. You must consciously redirect this. And when you do, everything shifts. Everything changes. This is what I'm teaching for the rest of this year, because this is the next step in our Ascension timeline evolution, meaning we have a great level of spiritual awakening. Many of us are spiritually awake. We are already spiritual beings. But what we need to catch up with is our human awakening process, meaning we need to take all of the tools, all the resources, everything we've learned from our spiritual awakening process, and be able to integrate it so that we can evolve our human awakening, so we can step up a little higher, so that we can elevate to ascended consciousness now. This is how we do it. There really isn't any other way. And I've made this example before, it doesn't matter how many energy activations you do, you won't evolve the mind with this. And you know that you're not evolving the mind, no matter how many spiritual awakenings of activations or alignments that you do, if you're still going back to thinking in the same negative ways, feeling the same negative thoughts, feeling the same limitation and lack, you are not in ascended consciousness, because you cannot take limitation or lack with you in 5D. It's not supported there. So if you're still thinking with the same level of mind It doesn't matter how spiritually awake you are. You are not actualizing any of that spiritual wokeness. You are not habitually entering into different behaviors that say, I am ascending. I am ascended. My mind has ascended. I've evolved my brain so that I can live, think, feel, and behave in ways that are my highest idealized version of self now. That's ascended consciousness. That's basically my definition of ascension, is living as the highest idealized versions of ourselves. This is possible now. But this is not a passive process. You have to actively redirect, consciously redirect the mind. And I teach a very powerful method of doing this. So this is what I'm teaching going forward, because I feel this very strong pull, this mission to be able to guide people into this place where they are actualizing their ascension process now. Living it, being it, doing it. If you want to learn how to do this, that is my Become the Creatrix program, and I will have information in the comments here. But does anyone have any questions about this? Do you get what I'm saying? Does this make sense to you? Does it hit you in the feels? Does it hit you in a place where you feel like, I want to know more about this? This makes sense. This is something that I need. This is something that can take me to where I want to go. Because many of us see very clearly. Some of us have crystal clarity on where we want to go. But as for like, okay, well, I'm over here now, and I can see where I want to be over there, but I have no idea how to get there. This is the program for you. Because it is, I'm not going to say it's easy. Because when you get to that threshold of your growth comfort zone, that egoic conditioning, that survival mode conditioning, the addiction in the body that we have to a way of feeling, will fight and kick and scream and throw tantrums. It's uncomfortable. That's why you need a level of support. That's why people try to lone wolf this with an untrained mind. They just give up. But I know exactly the pitfalls because I've fallen into them myself, and I've helped my clients when they've hit these pitfalls, when they've hit these walls with this energy and they feel the ego kicking and screaming and saying, I don't want to do this. I know how to get you through that. I know how to give you the support and guidance to get you over that. And once you get over that hump, everything changes. Everything changes. I'm glad this hits you in the feels, Saphira. Awesome. If you want to know more, you need to reach out to me. This program starts on February 7th. This is a very, very powerful program with lots of support, because you need a lot of support, because you will fight this method. The method itself is simple. The work, however, because you have to show up and do this work. There are no tourists here. This is not a passive program. You have to be willing to look at who you are, who you have been, and be able to say, okay, I accept this. I radically accept this. But I also know that I cannot live in this state anymore. I cannot live at a state that is lesser than my potential. It's simply not going to work with me anymore. You have to show up and do this work. It's not passive. And it doesn't work if you just kind of do this once every 3 or 4 days or so. It doesn't work this way. We are talking about repatterning your inner environment. This is not passive. It doesn't happen overnight. But if you do it consistently, you are changing your inner reality within 8 weeks. And your outer reality changes as well, because universal law dictates outer reality has to match that then. And I've seen it so many times, Saphira, and I know you've seen it in your work too. People give up when the ego starts freaking out. That's when they throw in the towel. This is too hard. This is not me. I'm never going to get this. And the voice of every other, person in our lives who's ever diminished us or discount us starts chiming in. The inner critic goes into hyperdrive. It's just the way it is. It's the way we're wired. But if you understand that we're just wired to resist change, then you get, okay, it's just biological programming. I can override that. And then it becomes something you start working with instead of against. And the more you do this, it stops being something that you do. It just becomes who you are. Very powerful. So I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching. I got to go do a live on my other page. But I want to wish you guys so much love and peace. I'm going to have the information in the comments here about this course, or you can just reach out to me if you want to get in on Become the Creatrix. It starts February 7th. It's open to 5 women only. So get on that if you are serious about this and about changing your reality. Think about where you want to be a year from now. Is what you're doing right now going to get you to that place? Because I have something that gets you to that place that you want to be. That feeling that you're searching for, I will help you get to that quickly. All right. Mwah. Love and peace. Bye-bye.